Everyone, I have a brief announcement to make. Jesus was black, Ronald Reagan was the devil, and the government is lying about 9/11. Thank you for your time and good night.
Everyone has a different way of surviving racism. And with the passing of these new congressional maps in the states, we still see some people fight against it. Some people imitating what it rewards, some people that choose to ignore it, maybe even internalize it, or just prove that they're on the right side of blackness. And the Boondocks basically turned all of these into an archetype. Huey, Riley, Granddad, Uncle Ruckus, and Tom all show the 5 different mindsets of blackness that we've seen in the past century. I've been meaning to make this video for months, and I don't see a better time than now. Because through all of their mindsets, you start to see something real uncomfortable. Even being pro-black can have a lot of flaws, and it's not because loving black people is wrong, but because sometimes the performance of consciousness becomes more important than actually helping black people. So we'll be going from the most pro-black to least, tier by tier.
Truth hurts, Jasmine. The world is a hard and lonely place, and nobody gets anything for free. And you want to know what else? One day, you and everyone you know is gonna die.
Huey is the obvious pro-black character, and this whole video would have been about him, but everyone has a role to play. Huey may see the system and understand racism while being very politically aware, but he lacks interest in entertainment, capitalism, and respectability politics, and refuses to bend his will to assimilate to any form of American culture.
My vision would turn your world upside down, tear us under your illusions, and send the sanctuary of your own ignorance crashing down around you. Now ask yourself, are you really ready to see that vision?
And in terms of relatability, I think most pro-black people see themselves in Huey. He's the character that actually names what everyone else is trying to ignore. And I'm at a point where it's hard for me not to notice certain critiques about his role. Huey's biggest flaw is isolation. He sees so much that he sometimes loses the ability to communicate, making his way to be correct but also ineffective. He may understand all the problems and still fail to move people. Maybe it's because of his attitude or his approach, but nevertheless, as the show progresses, we see him start to back down. That is one version of being pro-black. Being so conscious that you become disconnected from the people you claim to care about. And I've slipped in and out of that flaw a lot of times, to the point where that level of awareness may warrant isolation to genuinely feel better. A lot of pro-black people online are like Huey without the discipline. They can identify every system and all its contradictions, all the sellouts and raccoons, but sometimes they still can't build anything. MLK always said that everyone has a voice. So if you've been feeling like Malcolm X, you gotta show up. A lot of these pro-black folks cannot organize anything or even speak to regular people without trying to sound superior. And it can be hard to, because admittedly there is a lot of ignorance nowadays. But that is why educating our people and challenging systems is the most important way to move. It's hard to love your own people who aren't already politically educated, but that becomes the problem. Because if your politics only work around people who already agree with you, then your politics are not as powerful as you may think. And Huey almost always has some sort of indifference to everyone in the show as a result of them not thinking like him or just not thinking as deep as him.
Wait, what the hell are you wearing? Is that a bra?
What? It's just a wife beater.
Wear your pants. Why are you wearing a skirt?
Nah, Granddad. These are gangsta-licious shorts for thugs. See, they got an extra flap with a pocket, so you hide what you want to hide from the police. Kinda hot, right?
And then we have Riley, who is pretty much the exact opposite of Huey. Riley is blackness filtered through commercialized stereotypes. He adores the mainstream black media culture. He wants to hang with the zesty thug rappers, embody their version of toughness and materialism, and he basically wants to perform the version of blackness that the entertainment industry sold to him. And the sad part is he's still a kid, but the irony is that this still happens to this day, and that's just what gets pushed to the youth. I want to say masculinity is not this arrogant lack of emotional control. I know sometimes I could get on here and I get a little amped up, but in terms of Riley, he sees all the extremes and attributes this wild and reckless behavior to success in a country that's always been against us. He's not evil, he's just impressionable, kind of like Huey, but for different reasons. Because while Huey just sees the world as it is, Riley sees the world as what is there to take from it. He is what happens when black children are raised inside of images that profit from their worst possible self.
Ain't nothing wrong with me, feel me? You just hating, feel me? That's why you ain't never gonna have no paper, ain't never gonna have no, just feel me?
Riley shows how racism does not always destroy you by just making you hate blackness, but it destroys you by selling you a fake version of blackness and convincing you that it's real. This is why Huey versus Riley matters. Pro-black people can sometimes get so frustrated with Riley type of behavior that they start hating on their own people more than the conditions themselves that created these kinds of people. They see ignorance and they just get angry, which is very, very understandable speaking from experience. But the anger just becomes contentment. Instead of asking,
who taught this kid how to act like this?
They just say, look at these dumb people, as if they're not your people. And then you start going directly against what you're fighting for. When pro-blackness becomes disgust for black people who are still trapped, it can cost that black love that you have to just disappear when black people get messy.
All I asked you to do is act like you got some class.
Hey,
learn some
what's
manners.
class?
And this is the
It
things I
means
get.
don't act like niggas.
See, that's what I'm talking about right there. We don't use the N-word in this house.
Granddad, you said the word nigga 46 times yesterday. I counted.
Nigga, hush.
Now, Granddad is not revolutionary like Huey. He isn't even fantasy driven like Riley. He got that old school survival mindset like most of our parents, and he just wants peace in his nice big house with a little bit of respect and status mixed in for his position in life. He has lived long enough to know that the system is real, but he is tired and believes not much else can be done. He does not want to fight every battle. He simply wants to enjoy what he already has, which I kind of agree with, but not really.
We were supposed to have safe, boring lives. I was supposed to find some hot, financially desperate, or sexually frustrated mama and settle down. But nothing worked out as planned. It's just been one ridiculous, stupid, bizarre episode after another. And it's all my fault for moving us here. I'm taking responsibility.
Granddad represents the black person who knows racism exists, but often chooses comfort over contribution. Not because he's stupid, but because survival has always been the safest route. And to each their own. If you're okay with how things are, so be it.
Sarah, that is enough.
Sarah, that's enough.
Sarah, that's it. You're embarrassing yourself in front of your daughter and in front of pretty boy Flizzy.
It's like we not even here.
Now you've had enough. You are going to go upstairs and sleep it off.
What are you gonna do, Tom? Hit me?
No, I'm going to leave you. Mwah.
Daddy! Tom, wait! Tom!
Tom grew a pair. Didn't see that coming.
Now, Tom is the safe black man. He went through the education system and minimized himself as much as possible just to not be seen as a threat. And in the show, it's joked that his biggest fear is going to prison and getting touched, which, fair enough.
Cannot take my booty. The booty is mine. It belongs to me. You cannot take my booty. Ah!
He's the type of black person institutions love because he doesn't scare anybody, but he's scared of everybody. His whole existence is basically anxiety. He wants to be accepted and be seen as one of the good ones. He went so far as to marry a white woman in the show, and I doubt that was by coincidence. He wants to just prove he's not one of those black people. Tom's flaw is that he thinks he can buy out his safety just by being obedient. But the show always makes it clear that respectability does not earn you a spot. And in real life, like we already know, whether you're in a hoodie or a quarter zip, you're still black. You may look a little more presentable, but it does not make you untouchable.
Oh no, this can't be. It says I'm 102% African with a 2% margin of error. Why, Lord? Why, Lord? Why?
Uncle Ruckus is the most extreme version. Total self-hatred. This man goes around the whole show thinking he's white and moving like a white hood activist. He's a parody, but he still exists. Not usually as outlandish, but it exists. The desire to distance yourself from your own blackness and be accepting of the hate from the same people who created our last names. The belief that whiteness is somehow cleaner and better with this need to insult black people just to prove that you're different.
White man just a joy to be around. It smell like lemon juice and pledge furniture cleaner. And look at them, they gave us discipline, jobs, put structure in our lives, took us out the jungle. And what we do to show our appreciation? We march up and down the street. We vote, carry on, ingrates.
Well, how about this? Game.
Which we already see in this country. They be clearly obsessed with us. And this is just internalized racism at its ugliest. If Huey stands for resistance, then Riley is just miseducation. And both stem from Granddad's ideology of survival. But around the corner, you'll see someone like Tom trying to assimilate. And beneath all of that, you get a self-hating raccoon in Uncle Ruckus. All five are responses to the same wound. They're not just random personalities. And they all care about blackness, but in misguided ways. These are all survival strategies. And some are healthier than others, and Well, one of them is just completely destructive. But all of them come from living in a world where black people have had to navigate how to survive under pressure. The real flaw is thinking that Huey is the only valid response. He gets the most praise, but I still think we should hold on that. Consciousness does not automatically mean that you're better than everybody, but I can see why some people would feel that way. Pro-blackness is just not a purity contest. We're not fighting against each other, we're fighting for each other. Even the ignorant. It doesn't matter who read the most or who had the best takes, talks the most shit, becomes the biggest, or even has the most black-centered videos. Liberation is not a costume. So if your pro-blackness does not make you more loving or more useful and more committed to actual black people, then what are you really doing? Some people do not actually love black people, they just like being seen as pro-black just because it sells. And they love to think that they're the smartest in the room because being more conscious and radicalized means you stand out and that you stand for something. But real pro-blackness has nothing to do with being the next MLK or Malcolm X. This is a service and a privilege to even be able to speak on these issues. And it takes patience and proper educating to even make the sacrifices to build something out of this. In the past 3 months since I started even dropping videos like this, I had to think which direction I was gonna go. Sometimes I do get fed up and wonder how pro-black am I really? But to have grace for people who are still learning is understanding that black liberation cannot be built on contentment for black people. Huey is usually right, but he is also lonely like a lot of pro-black people. Because if the conscious person can't reach anybody, then the truth becomes trapped inside of them and it eats them alive. There's a reason why that mentality is not of the majority. That is the tragedy of Huey. He can understand the world, but he can't always change it. And that should be a warning that being woke is not always enough. You have to be able to bring people with you. Otherwise, consciousness becomes another form of isolation. I don't need to be the biggest to speak on this, and neither do you. Over time, the truth will continue to reveal itself, and hopefully more people will resonate with what I'm saying. Huey has the analysis, Riley has the culture, Granddad has the wisdom, Tom shows the danger of assimilation, and Ruckus, he's just a self-hating bastard, but yeah. So the answer is not to become one of them completely. The answer is to learn from what each one of them exposes and create your own identity of pro-blackness. If you stand with pro-blackness, it's okay to be conscious like Huey, just don't be disconnected. You can understand Riley and enjoy the culture, but don't glorify miseducation to satisfy ego. You can understand Granddad's survival tactics, but don't let that comfort kill your courage to fight back. You could recognize Tom's fear, but don't mistake acceptance for freedom. And you could just reject Uncle Ruckus completely, because self-hatred is not survival. That's just surrender. The pro-black flaw does not mean pro-blackness is a problem. Loving black people is still necessary. But the flaw comes when pro-blackness becomes performance, or something fueled by pride and ego, or just becomes bitter hatred for black people who have not reached your level of awareness. The Boondocks always understood something important. Black people are not just one mindset. We are a whole bunch of people trying to survive our history in different ways. And real pro-blackness has to love black people enough to tell the truth, but also love them enough to not throw them away. Our goal is not to sound pro-black. The goal is to free black people. And as this country continues to take away our freedom, we're gonna need all of us in order to fight back. If your politics makes you hate the people you claim to defend, something went wrong. If you haven't watched this masterpiece, please do. I probably watched this back in high school and it changed a lot for me. Even the direction as to where I'm taking my content now is really attributed to the Boondocks and what it's done for the black community. So, I forgot the show creator's name, but I'm gonna put it on screen or something. Thank you. And amen. See you soon.
Wow, that was so powerful. Academy Award.